Good evening, everyone. I will be chairing this meeting tonight. So let me just start off with the normal script. As chair of this meeting, I need to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. School committee members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Elizabeth Albota? Yes. Mary Branley?
Yes.
Hillary is out. Yes. Natasha Rivera.
Yes.
Do we have the student reps?
I do not see them. We do have a report.
They might be in there.
All right.
Oh, true.
And staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Colleen Andrade,
Yes.
Brian Haas,
Yes.
Chuck here. There he is. Chuck
Yes.
and Wayne White. Yes. Open meeting of the Maynard School Committee is being conducted as a hybrid meeting as allowed by Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, signed into law by Governor Healy on March 29, 2023. This act continues to exempt certain provisions under the law regarding remote meetings and public access until March 31st, 2025. This committee is convening via Zoom and in person as posted on the district's website. While an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast to remote attendees, unless otherwise required by law. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, be aware that other folks may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording, which is audible to and viewable by the public. If you're planning to record or broadcast this meeting, please use the raise your hand function now to notify the chair now, as required by law. I don't see anything. Along with the agenda, most of tonight's meeting materials are available on the Maynard Public Schools website in a folder titled 2023-2024 Agendas under the tab School Committee. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda and documents as the chair notes otherwise. Public comments agenda item is a devoted time for the school committee to hear from the public. As such, its structure primarily supports a unidirectional recording of public comments rather than a bi-directional conversation. Here are the general rules for any form of public comment period. Any person wishing to speak and make a comment during the virtual meeting may do so by sign up to speak publicly in advance and up until the public comment agenda item at. Right, read that part.
Nobody's here.
Nobody's here.
No, I can't.
Except for Carol.
She's heard.
Okay,
Carol's like a member at this point. I mean, really.
I need to read. Any?
No, just say.
No.
And
Okay, well, unless anybody wishes to, submit written comments, they'll be read. And they'll be, anyone wishing to submit a comment for public record after the public comments agenda is passed. So by emailing comments to comments for the number 4 scmeeting@maynard.k12.ma.us up until the end of the meeting, specifically stating their desire to have these additional comments included. Meeting ground rules. Before we go to the first item on the agenda, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will ask each member if they have any comments, questions, or motions that they would like to make. I will go through the members for additional comments or questions if time allows. Please hold off speaking until your name is called and remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. If members wish to engage with other members, please do so through the chair and take care not to interrupt anyone who is speaking. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. And now I'm going to do a roll call for the meeting to come to order. Natasha Rivera,
Yes.
Elizabeth Albota,
Yes.
Mary Branley. Yes. Mara Hogan, yeah. And that's 7:05. So, do we have any urgent business?
No urgent business tonight.
Do we have any public comments? I didn't see anything.
No, I have not seen any.
And do we have any representatives?
We don't have a representative present. I did print out their report for you. Nope.
Okay. Would anybody like to read the
Or do you want to
student report, or do we want to wait,
move
put
on?
it out of order? No,
I mean, I could share. it.
Yeah, no, they're not, they're going to the basketball game. So, okay, I'll just read it. This is the student report to the school committee, February 29th, 2024. The highlights. February break was a highlight for many students. The girls basketball team advanced to round 2 of the Clark tournament, and our boys basketball team won the small school championship. Indoor track state meets. Alec Watts, Natalie Champion, and Sylvia Smith all had fantastic seasons, and they all represented Maynard in their individual events at the state level. Spain exchange trip happened over break. Progress reports came out for term 3 on Friday for vacation. Some of their topics and concerns, solutions, lunch concerns. We will be sending out a new lunch survey and setting up a lunch meeting, committee meeting. No One Eats Alone is March 13th. We'll have a lunch with activities and prizes for students who sign up to eat with a different lunch group. Students who participate in the activity will be entered into a raffle for a big prize. Students are planning an Earth Day celebration for April 10th and are looking for teachers interested in doing a service project with students. Some upcoming events. Mass Hyannis trip is March 6th through March 8th. The DECA trip is March 8th through March 10th. March Madness is March 18th through the 22nd. The spring musical Annie is the 15th through the 17th. Character assemblies is the 14th. And MEASC has a visit on the 11th through the 13th. We have a basketball state tournament double header tonight. And there are going to be Alex and fire drills that will resume once the weather is warmer. Any comments, questions? Yeah. Okay. Superintendent's report.
So it's very nice of, thank you very much. It was very nice of you to read the student comments. That takes up a good portion of my superintendent report. So although I have a picture, if you want to see what they were great. That was a lot of fun if you had a chance to get down to Clark University and watch the boys and girls play. That was a lot of fun. We did have our math camps over February break, which was a new thing. It was a DESE grant that pretty much, if you said you were interested, they funded it, and we had staff that really took it upon themselves to do. I shared the Google link with you, so you could have seen some of the pictures of the kids building everything from rockets to catapults to all sorts of different hands-on experiences, which in many ways related to math. So that was great. There haven't been any budget updates since our last meeting. We're kind of in that phase of we presented what we wanted, towns allocated what they said they can, and they're balanced out. So you'll know what I know. If depending on which way you came to the school tonight, you driven by the high school at all in the last week or two, you would have seen the substantial progress on the solar project. The footings went in over break, the steel columns are in. Now they're doing a really nice job in terms of just timing this out and getting it done. And I forgot, this always amazes me, this sort of fat construction. One of the last things Dawn's doing is doing trench to the school, to the canopy, and they wait. Tell you why they wait, but they have to wait for the asphalt to start open. And that's when they can actually get asphalt and then re-asphalt once they dig a trench. So you can dig a trench now, but you have no way to fill it. So that was interesting. Bit of information, but they've been really responsive, and we have bi-weekly meetings with them. MSBA, we're working, we are continuously to meet, we're in that design phase now, starting working groups in terms of security and sustainability. So those are all really up and coming, and we're planning several public presentations between now and fall, just to keep everybody in the loop. The first one, I think, is looking into March, beginning of April, April 1st. And it's, and there's, I think the specific locations obviously would be in town. School or fire house or select board. The alumni field, you obviously voted last meeting to postpone until fall for the vote, but we're continuing to work. They did their peer review with the planning board, so those things are all moving forward, just as we would have expected. And internally, in terms of curriculum, the exciting thing is our math curriculum, our pilots are beginning for illustrative math and Carnegie math. So we'll have updates in the near future on that. And if you didn't already hear, the girls played tonight at 5, and they played very well. They definitely won. And the boys are playing right now. So I'll let you know about the meeting if I have an update for you. That's it. Thank you.
Natasha, do you have any comments?
I just had a follow-up to the solar, Brian. When will, I know that I'm just so excited to finally, there's stuff happening there. Will we be able to get a demo of what that website that comes with it once it's live, or do we, when we can start tracking stuff, and how is that going to be part of the, when does that look like that'll be coming online?
I'll reach out to Select and find out.
Okay. And that was all that I had. Thank you very much.
Elizabeth?
Oh.
Right, no, nothing. I did have one question, and that was about the Spanish immersion, para, or the.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
The person who we originally
Yeah.
got role, we didn't know if we were gonna be
Okay.
able to fund it. We
about.
are.
And
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Well,
Okay. On to the Whitson's food service update.
so before we turn it over to them, which we will soon do, Wayne, our business manager, is here, and he oversees food service, so I'll let him really introduce the crew from Whitson's. We are excited to have been good partners all the way through.
Thank you. We're privileged that they're here to talk to us. I know that in past meetings, we have had some of the student representatives bring up some concerns about food service. And I thought that maybe give them an opportunity to come here and present and maybe answer some questions. I know my relationship with them, what I've seen, I've been very pleased with what Sue has done. You're going to see some of the things that they accomplish in their slide presentation. And so I'm pleased that they're here. First of all, I want to introduce Dennis Gomez, who's the Regional Vice President of School Nutrition. He's a former district manager. He's been promoted, so congratulations to Dennis. And along with him, he has Alyssa Charles, district manager, and Anna Parachico. Prato.
I actually had to find out, make sure I was gonna say it right, so I'm glad we did.
Is the general manager of service director of payroll. And so she is her first back.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have Sue. Who is our food service director, we're very about that. And so with that, I will turn it over to Dennis.
Thank you very much, Wayne. I appreciate it. I appreciate the time tonight. I know that, I meet with Wayne at least once a month, right? Wayne? If not more, if there's any issues or concerns. So I appreciate the time just to clarify some of the things. The great things that, Sue, she's very modest, but she's done such a great job on the ground. I'm going to work with her through this presentation, but she's got some things that she wants to talk about how she's done this stuff. So as we go through the presentation, if there's any questions, please don't hesitate to stop us and say, I have a question about that. That's fine. You don't have to hold it to the end. So, okay. So thank you for the introduction. I was going to do that one, but so we know the team. We're going to kind of tag team this presentation. Let's go. I think we want to start one couple of slides back. Is that right? Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so we know the agenda fairly well. We want to talk about the wholesome foods. Anna's going to talk about the nutritional fact in this. I'm going to talk a little bit the people. Well, Sue and I will talk about whole food communication. Alyssa's going to do the district updates, and then we'll have questions as we go as fine. So I'm going to turn it over to Anna, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about some of the USDA regulations, why we do things the way we do, and that kind of good stuff. Thank you, Anna.
Again, my name's Anna. I work in the schools and just doing my tuition. So first and foremost, I just did want to talk about the nutrition and why the meals are constructed the way that they are, and some of the nutritional standards that we have to follow. So the school breakfast program and the national school lunch program are all regulated by USDA and DESE. And we are required to adhere to pretty strict standard guidelines within our programs. So the nutritional standards, they include saturated fat, trans fat, that there's no trans fat in any of our foods. The saturated fat content, sodium content in that, and calories too. So these nutritional standards that we have to follow are all based on, are broken down by grade group and also a 5-day average. So say calories, we look and say calories were a bit higher, it might even out over. So that's why, some of our products that we have, meals that we have are more sodium, because we have to follow those standards by the USDA and DESE. So there are also subgroup requirements that we have. So for a meal to be offered, we need to offer 5 different components, and that includes milk, a grain, a meat, or a meat alternative. So yogurt, cheese, protein, chickpeas, things like that, and then fruits and vegetables. And within the vegetables, there are other subgroups, so we have to offer different things. Colored vegetables, we have red, we have your starchy vegetables, legumes, dark vegetables, and then, dark green vegetables, and then another category which might that doesn't fall in this category. So the thing I think of is cucumbers. And then within those categories, there are also regulations on that. So for grain, they have to be 100% whole grain, or a 50% content of 100% whole grain and enriched flour, so 50-50. So like you want to look at some of the products looking through the kitchen, you might find pizza is whole grain. The breads that we have, those are standards that we cannot change and you have to follow. And that's why you see all of our products are that way. Our milk, if it is flavored, it's going to be fat free, and then it's going to be 1%. And then to offer a certain amount of cups and fruits and vegetables, and then the way that they focus on grains and meat alternatives, they break it down as an equivalent. So we need to provide a certain amount of equivalence per feed. Does that make sense?
It's definitely very complicated.
Kind of break down simply, but when I think of that, so say you have you're serving spaghetti right? The supplier and the vendor will give us a paper that's our child nutrition label paper with the product that says, okay, a cup of cooked pasta is equivalent to 2 ounces of grains. So that will really focus and determine what our portion sizes are for some of the products that we provide. Does that make sense? Okay, it's hard to kind of lay it out because there are so many guidelines, so many requirements. Like, okay, you have components and then you have more strict guidelines under that.
I think one of the things is people are wondering why are we serving so much or so little of certain things? And the kids, it's hard to explain. That's why I wanted to have Anna, because even I have a hard time keeping up with all the regulations. So those child nutrition is very important to look at, because sometimes different manufacturers, it could be different equivalents. So I want to make sure we're on target.
And since we have a software program, constantly when we have and making sure that they adhere to all of the standards. Because we want to follow those guidelines. Make sure that we're doing this correctly. Does anyone have any questions about nutritional requirements? So I just wanted to go into reimbursable meals for our students. So as you know, all students are free to.
Hi, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I had one question. I was just getting myself, Natasha. This is maybe more of, I don't know if it's health, not necessarily nutrition, but I understand that the fruit that it's wrapped, that is it packaging? Is that part of some a health standard that has come about since COVID, or just if you could speak to that a little bit, because I know that the presentation of some of the food has been questioned before.
Sure. So that is actually a pre-COVID standard. The reason being, anything that has a skin that you're going to eat will be wrapped in something. If you're thinking about students and if you're not washing hands or having clean hands when they're grabbing fruit, we just want to make sure that they're not grabbing a fruit that another student's going to eat, and therefore they could get sick. So that's why everything with the skin that you eat will be wrapped.
And that is a
Apple,
Whitson's protocol, or is that a mandated
yes,
department, the Board of Health? Okay, I just wanted to get clarification on that. So the Board of Health dictates that that's the level of, if it's a skin. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So free meals for students. We participate in something called offer versus serve. So traditionally, when you look at a tray, you may find that in the past, they would be served every single component. So they would have their vegetable on there, they would have their fruit on there, they'd have all the components. Offer versus serve really focuses on reducing food waste and ensuring that the kids have some type of say in what they're eating. So in order for it to be a reimbursable meal, they have to have 3 food components on their plate, one of which has to be half a cup of fruit or a half a cup of vegetable. That is required to be a reimbursable meal. So the staff are trained, so that way if they're moving through the POS systems and they don't have a required component, then they just go back and grab something to make it a reimbursable meal. This is really, really important because what we do is we are verifying that we're getting these reimbursements and then reporting to the state how many reimbursable meals that we are providing. And in return, we get reimbursed per meal at a set rate from the state and federal government that will fund our programs, would fund cost of labor, the food that we're getting, anything that goes into the program, new equipment, repairs of equipment, anything that has to do with our program. So that's why it's really important, not only for the students' health, but for the success of our programs as well. And then I will touch upon second meal. So The state does say that, the USDA, and it does say that students are allowed one reimbursable meal. However, if the student is feeling hungry still, they kind of come back and they can get unlimited fruits and vegetables. So if they feel like they need a little bit of extra, then they can come into the CAP and feel free to help themselves with that. If they are indeed wanting another full meal, then they will be able to purchase that a lot more. Again, because we're in USDA test standards. We are not allowed to provide, a reimbursable meal for the student.
I had another question. Sorry. Hi. The first meal, the offer versus serve, I want to make sure I understood what you were saying with that. So in order for it to be reimbursable, it has to have a specific amount of components on their tray. And so if they go to check out and they don't have that, and if they, let's just say, are missing, I don't know, a milk, they will have to go back and get a milk, even though they may not drink a milk, in order to reimburse it, even though we know that might go in the trash because they're not going to drink it. Is that, I just want to kind of walk through that scenario a little bit. Is that, even though we know that they don't want it, it has to be on their tray in order for that to be reimbursed? Is it that granular?
So to clarify, they need 3 components. It doesn't have to be a milk. Milk is not a required part of school lunch anymore. It was years ago. The only item that they have to have is a fruit or a vegetable, plus at least 2 other components. So they can have standard grain, just a fruit, a vegetable, and a milk. But they have to have essentially three like food groups, and 1 has to be a fruit. So typically the only time a student comes through the end of the lunch line and their meal isn't reimbursable is if they haven't selected a fruit or vegetable. I know Sue offers a huge variety of fruit veggies to try to appeal to whatever students might like, whether it's a variety of fresh, dried fruit, like raisin, canned fruit, raw veggies, cooked veggies. So that way, different students who have different preferences can still find something they like. Because school nutrition programs across the state, now that Massachusetts is completely free, DESE has really encouraged us to essentially not allow a student to not take a reimbursement. We don't want to, which is essentially what we would have to do if the meal wasn't reimbursable in order to be in compliance. So yes, if a student didn't want a fruit or vegetable, we would encourage them to take something anyway, because that's really the only way we can claim the meal with the state. And then we sort of encourage, hey, if you want it, take something home for later, or get something that a friend might. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. I just, I get the intent, obviously, is to make sure that they're eating well. I also understand that there's a potential for excessive food waste if, they're encouraged to take something they know that they don't want. And I just wanted to understand if that's something that you see or you're experiencing, just to try to meet that eligibility requirement.
Yeah, we do see that in some districts, but what we've done is we created a share table. So that's something that we may be able to do here then. Sue, okay, so Sue has it. Okay, so we'd like to do that. It's all sanctioned by the Department of Health. DESE is approved. So this is something, so if they have to take it and they don't want to take it home or eat it themselves, they can put it on the share table, one of their friends or somebody else can take it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think anything we could do to offset that,
Yeah, I agree.
food loss, I think that would really be great. And maybe it sounds like Sue maybe is thinking or implementing something like that. I would really like to hear that promoted a lot more if that's the case too. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the other thing, Natasha, that I want to bring up is we are kind of restricted that once they distribute a piece of food or an item to a student, even if we see that student throw in garbage or say we can't take it back.
Mhm.
So if we're required to give certain components and Johnny doesn't want it, the best we can do is maybe a share table But after
That's what
that,
I was thinking. Like if you're talking about like the apples, they're gonna be wrapped and
Right.
like they're not gonna eat the apple. Let's just say, okay, put it on your plate and then you go 10 feet, put it on the shared table if you don't want it, that's their choice. It's wrapped, it hasn't really been eaten, whatever. At least somebody else might be able to benefit from it. It wouldn't have to go in the trash. I just wanted to think creatively, how do we make sure we're capturing the dollars for the reimbursement, but also not increasing unnecessary waste and of good food in that endeavor. So I know it's a fine balance and I appreciate the thought around that.
we've had the share table for a while. I mean, we've had it all. Yeah, we had even had it last year. Because Sue and I sat down and we had this discussion and we started the share table here in the district. So it's been here a while.
Is it at all 3 schools?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's actually very successful, particularly the young children, if they keep something, put something into the bucket, then they'll go in and take it, particularly if they come from bring a meal from home and they see something that they need.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we can,
Sorry, I just had
Oh, I'm
one
sorry.
more question I thought of, but, I think you said, so with the purchased meals, are they also, if the student gets, does that apply toward our reimbursable or no? Those are that's just, doesn't apply at all. I know the ones that are paid for, they do, but even if they're purchasing another one that doesn't give us credit?
No, so we can only credit one meal per
Just one
student
meal,
per day.
okay.
However, any revenue from the child nutrition program, so the a la carte meal, goes directly back into the program. That's another dedicated state standard. There will be, that money will go right back into the child nutrition program, just like a reimbursement.
Thank you.
all right, we're going to talk about our key promises for Whitson's is people, food, and communication. Something that we really take at heart. And so we're going to talk about people first, and Sue's going to help me with this. So here's our staff, and Sue, why don't you tell us about these pictures? What do you see? What do we see here?
The team, some left hand side, team, and team, some of the team. So don't be that.
Okay, great. Yeah, but looking at preparing for this presentation, I want to be brief too, but the staff here is fantastic. I've had meetings, they've had some concerns, rightfully so. We've talked through it. Everybody's very, very good at, the labor market is really tough right now. So we want to make sure that we're competitive, that we have a wage rate that helps our people and helps our team members, and also retains them and attracts them. So working with the administration, Wayne and Brian, thank you so much for what we've been able to accomplish over the last couple of months, get the people where we believe they are. The people, like I said, a backbone of our operation and the key of our Whitson's way, so I can promise.
So the transition is seamless, like the same staff and same salaries and stuff like that.
Yeah,
No.
actually, we're able to update some of the wage rates, getting them up to more competitive, because there's a lot of places right now looking for team members, and they're paying pretty well, so we want to be competitive. And here's we have a great diversity on our team. So it's a little bit, but
Welcome to my first slides.
thank you, Sue. And now I think our other people, investing in our team. So this is another thing too that we, Sue has done a fantastic job on just getting everybody to where we need them to be. Some of these are regulated, like everybody needs to be trained, ServSafe certified for all of our needs at the elementary, at our operations. And then all people are taught Healthy Hungry Kids Act, civil rights.
I have a question over here. Hi, sorry. Thank you. So from a staffing level right now, would you say that you are fully staffed?
We are very close. We've had a couple of regrettable losses, but we were close that when I first started here and our first meeting in the summer, we were really sure. And Sue's done a fantastic job just trying to get people in, train them. It's tricky. You know, we've had some people come in, we've worked with them for a while, and then they decide to leave. So that's one of the reasons why we really took a hard look at our wage rates and making sure that they're paid competitive. So we're close. You know, at 95%, one vacancy right now. So that is a lot better than we've had.
And the Serve Safe certification, is that, so is everyone, so you have someone at each school who is Serve Safe certified, is that right?
That's a requirement.
Okay. So, and do the staff, do they have staff who have an opportunity to get extra certification? Is that something that you do offer if they wanted to have more, I guess, like I would say for a teacher, professional development, you know, if we wanted encouraging the staff to be more, explore more certification in their field, is that something that Whitson's considers the possibility to retain staff, offer some, you know, benefits in that regard? Is that a possibility, or is that something that you consider?
Yes, we have. Yes, we do absolutely love to get our team members as trained as possible. So yes, we've done that. We just recently put people through some Serve Safe certification training. So we are excited to have as many people in our operations certified. So, you know, it makes everything just that much safer.
Great. And then you mentioned earlier about the competitive wages and with staff. I know it's hard with the food service in general, especially with the state's minimum wage in the past couple of years also creeping up. How has that, it says, you said you have one position remaining to fill. What is the turnover that you experience in when you do fill? Do you have, I know that there has been some losses. What is it? Is there anything that you're able to do to try to help retain staff that you're finding that you're working towards to be more competitive?
I mean, I don't have the exact turnover rate. Turnover has been high. It was high in the beginning of the year. It's starting to level off, I would say. At this point, the position we're looking to fill is a key position. So we really we're trying to attract somebody that has the experience, has the knowledge to come into a role like this. And, you know, and with the wage rate that we're offering. So it's a tricky endeavor. We're almost to the point where we would take somebody with some lesser experience that may have some runway that we would to train. And that's something we have to look at as well. We can't always find the perfect person, especially in this labor market. But I think going out and finding somebody that we think we can train, or even looking inside our staff as well to see, or who wants to take that next step. You know, sometimes some people are just very comfortable with what they're doing, and that's fine. That's perfect. They're very valuable contributors. But we'd like to try to promote within, and that's why we do Serve Safe certifications too, so they're ready for that next step. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. And I think I know we all got the update about with Fresh Picks and, you know, pulling them under your umbrella. And you mentioned that it would really be no service impact. Would there be any type of structural hierarchy change that we would or should expect to see in that regard, or really nothing that would trickle down to this level?
Well, I think nothing that would affect your service level currently. I think it would only enhance your service level as we start to commingle some of our ideas and our concepts with Fresh Picks. Fresh Picks is a company that has really aligns with the Whitson's culture. So I think this is just a natural kind of acquisition for Whitson's, and we're excited. I think I chuckled a little bit because as I start to progress in my new role, I can see that I think that I'm going to be having a little bit more responsibility into the New Hampshire area with where there's Fresh Picks. There's a very big presence of Fresh Picks there. So that just, you know, only help our footing here. So but again, nothing changes here. We're adding just a little bit more level. You're going to have to kick me out. I know I won't be able to spend as much time here, but you know, I do enjoy coming here.
Thank you.
All right, I know we've taken a lot of time. Sorry, I know there's a lot of things going on, but we'll go through these food pictures quickly. That, you know, again, food is one of our big topics, and Sue has done a fantastic job purchasing local. We have Red's Best and Boston Food Hub. These, I guess, companies or just conglomerates help us find some very local foods. Red's Best, we just had today, right? Sue had, we had fish from Red's Best, which is a very local, they're right here in Massachusetts, the fish that we procure. And Boston Food Hub, we have some apples from there too as well. Real Meals is a concept that we have, these are grab and goes. You see, you're having a smoothie that we have, all those things that you see on the left in the pictures of what we do, right, the salad. And we'll show you at the end, we have a piece of equipment that we purchased through a grant from DESI that was it. We were able to purchase a merchandising, a refrigeration unit for this. Sue, jump in if you want, but.
So what we have.
To bread, tacos, chibas, weekday items. And it just brings a new look to.
And yeah, it just drives that excitement. It's really nice.
That's a la carte, or that's not part of the, that's not part of the paper, so that's already.
No, it is. And just, it's,
Still a reimbursable, but it's bringable. And I'll do that.
next slide is some promotions that we do. You can go ahead.
That went out very well. We've got some Moroccan chicken, which was made by our chef at Bower School. Again, very well. And we even served chicken soup and internationally. As I can see that there's some what they call scrambled cereals, which are very popular at the elementary level, because they get to mix their cereal together and spend the time in line doing it. And then next door to it, we've got the green beef that you tasted tonight, along with some tofu with sweet chili sauce, which we did at the Bower School handle. And then this was our Red Sox opening day, which was Jason, you can see in the shop, and everybody just got offered. We did 400 meals back then. Because the kids got to wear for the shirts. Everybody got dressed up, had popcorn, we had fries, burgers, hot dogs, chili, tacos, etc. So, hot. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll step in and just speak briefly about communication, which is another one of our key principles. So nutrition education is a component we try to work into just our general marketing materials throughout the cafeteria, flyers, things like that. Really become available, especially at the middle and high school levels. We provide monthly dining reports to we that highlight what's on over the past month, any promos and specials, pop-up shops. And then all of our marketing materials we update annually to draw in kids, create more of, more of an experience, not just the food, but everything going on in the cafeteria, starting before you take that first bite, what you see with the food and with all our signage as well. Okay, so we have a few financial updates we wanted to provide as well. So you can see here, the bars are showing from the top down. Green is 2024, yellow is 2023, so last year, fiscal year, and then 2022. So year over year, breakfast on the left, lunch on the right. Our meals have been increasing across all schools. The number of sales that we've been doing, which is wonderful to see increased participation in the program. This slide shows in blue last school year, orange this year, gross revenue from the reimbursable meal. So you can see this year, our gross revenue that's going back to the program has increased again. It's great. And then this slide, I know it's a little bit confusing. So this is a month over month for the current school year. So shows losses, you can see in August, with a large loss at the beginning of the school year, that's just our annual startup costs. So shelves are empty, refrigerators are bare, so that's bringing in all that food, and then you see it again in January, and that's similar, coming back from that long December break, you know, getting restocked and back to working order. We anticipate for the rest of the year, our February hasn't closed out yet, you know, we'll sort of build our way back up, positive balance here. And flat.
Yeah. Oh, here's what I was talking about earlier about these.
So- We were fine, just that we get in contact with Grant, which we did. Lucky enough to be able to get some children merchandise for both the high school and the Fowler school, and also a salad bar for both schools. And the student also got, but it allowed the children to come in. We noticed particularly with fourth graders at Fowler school, they gravitate towards that because they can just see what they get.
And then, the veggie garden we talked about, helps with some of the concerns that Natasha expressed about, you know, food waste. The more options that we have for fruits and veggies, the more likely students to be able to get what they like. And so that really helps with exposure, you know, for students, young children especially. The more often they see a food, the more likely they are to actually try it. So just by having more options available to show them every day, those look so beautiful, whole rainbow on your farm. So that's a great opportunity as well.
And on that note, we know the elementary schools. Kids, you know, and they go back and they don't have a function to add to their vegetable, to add to their plate. And that's at a very small level. So, and when we put that. Children with the vegetables.
And so this slide, you know, speaking a little bit about things that are on the horizon, so move towards more suitable products, and in terms of our paper products to be more eco-friendly, so pencils, plates, bowls, straws. We're increasing, Whitson, the company has an initiative to increase our plant-based options, not just plant-based proteins. So we're working on that as well. We have the rainwater, which you're all enjoying tonight, as another option as opposed to a plastic water bottle to just be a little more conscious of our carbon footprint. And collaborating, Susan and collaborating with students at the high school to try to work on how we can reduce our use of plastic bag program. I know there was a concern about the apples and other hand fruit being individually wrapped. So it's working to see if there are other ways around those sort of guidelines to sort of reduce plastic usage as well. Also looking ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so we are looking at doing finger scanning. Way suggested. Because we have quite a lot of children running through them, very, to take a long time for them to not remember big enough. So this suggestion of finger scan, which is, I think it's something that also students go.
I think Elvis had talked about the least of vegetables, plant-based options.
Be one of those.
Yes, they really do. And then educating students about the sustainability of local products. That's a very noble thing, noble cause, right there with that. And I think that's the end of the question.
Any other questions?
Thank
I wanted to just highlight, if we could go back 2 slides, about the equipment that we bought, and I want to bring that up. So one of those 3 years of spreadsheets were about 15,000 dollars, and the grant that we got. The one on the left, I forget, it was like 15 or 30,000 dollars that we got money from DESI. Didn't come from the district, didn't come from the town. That Sue and I worked together to get this to enhance websheet in terms of the display in the high school. And the same thing that Survey bought, right? That was with grant money that we got from DESI. The other thing I would like to find that when over the financials and the reimbursable, those two things go together, because as you know, the food service program gets no money from the operating budget. It is a self-sustained entity, and so that's why it's very important that we try to maximize the reimbursable meal, because that's how we fund the program. So also out of that, I pay the Whitson's bill every month. You know, that has to come out of there. Common things like, for example, we have to have the vents in the kitchen clean because we get inspected by the health department. That all have these types of maintenance types of things that you don't really see, all have to come out of this pot of money that we get. So that's why the financials and reimbursable meals are very important.
Thank you, Wayne, for adding to that. And I had a couple questions, but I don't know, Mara, I can't see.
Go ahead, Natasha.
So thank you for the presentation. I think it was really great. I have my husband's a chef, so we get a lot of food talk in our house. And so that's where some of my questions probably come from a lot. I did actually want to ask about what you're seeing as far as students with a vegetarian, gluten meal requirements or needs that are coming through the school. I know that at the college level, there's certainly grown in the past 10 years. Are you still seeing that, and are the offerings, do you find that they're adequate enough that you're keeping up with the demand of what the students need in those particular meal choices?
We offer vegetarian meals every day across the whole school, with vegetarian meals.
But gluten, I know gluten-free is one that seems to in the past few years has grown. Do you have a regular availability for gluten-free options?
To deal with the gluten-free is a little bit more challenging, so if they're medically required to be gluten-free, then we have a gluten sheet where they can pre-order the meals.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I think the only thing the equipment that Wayne that you were mentioning, I know that was grant funded, and you had mentioned about cleaning, the specialty cleaning in the hoods and all that. I remember, I think maybe 2 years ago, we had something in Fowler that needed to be repaired. It may have been like a drain. How is the maintenance? Like, is there a certain maintenance schedule for some bigger ticket items that we are on our radar to needing to be addressed? Or I'm just wondering how those other equipment pieces are.
Well, I know things such as the vents, I know those have to be cleaned at least annually. I know grease traps, I know I pay at least twice a year.
Yeah, I think it was one of the grease, there was something with one of the grease traps, I think 2 years ago. It ended up being a little bit larger expense that I think we needed to get a reserve fund transfer or something. It was part of a larger, I think, unexpected, anticipated. So I wasn't sure if we're seeing any of those types of like, major concerns of things aging that we need to replace anything, or is really things are just kind of keeping up well.
I haven't seen anything. Sue is very good about keeping me informed of things that she needs or inspections that need to be done. And so I'm not aware of anything major in terms of pieces of equipment or maintenance that need to be done. It's more routine things like, the vents,
Right.
and cleaning out freezers and grease traps, those types of things, which is routine.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm all good. Thanks, Mauro.
Thank you.
I thank you for everything, and I was wondering about the breakfast talk. You know, you talked a lot about lunches, but I was wondering about recommending breakfast. And if those slides you had about reimbursable meals and the money, is that also including breakfast, or was that just lunch?
Yes, so reimbursable meal, we spoke mostly about lunch, but yes, breakfast is reimbursable as well. Every student, just like at lunch, is entitled to a reimbursable breakfast at no cost. So every student is able to come get a breakfast every day. And that reimbursement comes back the same way into this program.
And then what is required for breakfast? And Sue, if you wouldn't mind, and if you don't mind, like you, is it like from when to when? And is there like a cart or the grab thing to read or how does the breakfast?
Typically, we would think like that sausage egg, cheese, sandwich, which is great, it's really great. So that's one choice. They also, they come to be parents, there's the three, the other down multi-level, so to make that really more, yeah.
And is it also kind of in that freezer or that refrigerator, then you grab it and
No,
go?
oh,
If they, when it stops when school opens, or
we actually do extend preschool.
everyone time,
Yeah.
basically.
Particularly for the elementary level, sometimes it's right.
And then just out of curiosity, who gets the plan? Are you planning on these? For all three schools?
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, luckily enough, we have some proprietary software that helps. But if it's, her ideas, she looks at the trends, sees what works well, sees what doesn't, and use it accordingly. Definitely, there's some places maybe fatigue, so we want to do that. That's what the pop-ups are, the promotional days, just keep it exciting.
And speaking of, has anyone ever been using, or I know you have that review system set up online. And I know a couple of times people have been like, oh, we don't want these meals, but we do them when it comes to us. And then we told them, people told them that there's a fish review. Has anyone been using that? No.
I know we were just talking, Anna's also general manager in April, and they do use it somewhat in April. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger, but it's. She was just saying, sometimes it's hard to get some really good information out of that. Sometimes it's just somebody just complaining for the sake of that, but we take everything seriously. If we see something like that, I know Sue's followed up. Wayne lets me know if there's something, we'll follow up with that. Sue, sometimes it's just, if it's like something that we had that day. That's why we have to try to do as many options as we can. And so we have the variety is really, I know sometimes it takes a little bit longer in line because, they have choices. But, just in case someone doesn't like some things, they definitely have choices to pick from.
I would, as my first year here, it was a very good conversation. To and they important to me, getting back.
Yeah, according to their student report, it sounds to me like they're at least gonna be doing a survey, so that that's going back, so, yeah, so that's great.
Thank you for everything.
Thanks for the time. Yeah, do it on the whole. It's okay. Yeah.
So I just had just one question, and it's part of the high school, sometimes it's like this stuff. But there were comments that, the kids that went later lunches, again, high school, there weren't necessarily the same options that the previous lunch periods had. But it seems like we might have worked that out.
Yeah, we'll do try that. When we have a better.
We do use production sheets as well to try to see what, if we have different menu items up against other popular menu items. We want to ensure we're producing the right level. And like Sue said, we'd like to batch cook because we don't want something, we don't want to cook everything early, put it in warmers, but that last lunch, it's been sitting in a warm for a long time. So Sue and the team are definitely batch cook so it's as fresh as possible. Sometimes it may take a few minutes, they have to wait just a few minutes. And I know there's not a lot of time, but there's a lot of lunches lines. So we want to try as fast as possible.
So this year.
Oh, yeah, the salad bar.
So that whole thing is new? Oh, that's great. I know that my son, wow,
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think it was Elizabeth was saying that when you see this, the food, walk by it sometimes, it just, it tempts you to try it, so. It does look like they're very well, it's very attractive. We have a lot of food left, I mean. Do anybody want some, or we'll take it out, it's up to you. Yeah, please. Yeah, get some food.
Richard.
What? Not really fun.
Okay.
Are we taking a recess? Everybody's getting food. I feel like so left out.
I don't, I don't know if we have a true, leisure discussion or not.
I do have an update. Just,
Great.
yeah, it was from the email that I sent. I wanted to, you know, talk about, give us an opportunity to talk about. It was more the CPC.
Hold on.
Yeah. So,
You want to go ahead?
Sure, yeah. So the only thing I wanted to really make sure we have an opportunity to talk about was there's been a lot of different bleacher conversations since we were all last together. And I think we went to the CPC. I sent the email just to recap. They voted to table our application. I know Mary was able to listen in as well. So by July 1st, they are going to be looking for a comprehensive, more like complete, bring everything together, amended application. And then from there, they're going to decide on what type of funding they would want to do. So that could be anything from like, I don't know, here's $20 to we're going to bond for $1 million maybe. So they didn't eliminate any option off the table there. If they, the majority probably don't feel the bonding is not something that everyone's excited about for them. But there is some wiggle room that people have warmed up to that might be a possibility. They do have a limit based on how much they get in, and they are concerned about bonding and then, limiting their own funding for future projects that they would want to take on. I also shared with you all, there was a public comment that was shared during the hearing, and it was, relating to the priorities of how we're approaching the project in the order bleachers versus field. So I think that is something that we probably all need to. I know we voted that we were all in agreement that we would continuing on with the scope of the project as is. And I just want to make sure we're all still comfortable with that. I know for one, I don't feel that the select board would be at this point able to entertain anything that they would be wanting to do more. And actually, we're going to have a joint meeting with them before that July, or actually another tri-board meeting. It's going to be looking hopefully, what is it, Brian? Maybe like early June or something around there. We're trying to get for.
I think so.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more direction from them as well. But I don't know. I don't know if anyone had any thoughts or questions about where we are with the project.
I noticed that we have some answers, some of the questions we had, and I know I saw the answer to the question about having phases of, the project and potentially, doing the bleachers, and then maybe phase 2 would be something about the fields. What wasn't clear from that email is if that was something, like how that would work, and if that's something we'd have to put back out in some way, or how, I don't understand the mechanisms of that. It wasn't really answered in that email.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of structure yet to that, what that phase 2 would look like. It's more of, we know what phase 1 is. And I think at that point, anything phase 2 would have to be, planned. And I mean, there's costing. So, one of the questions that I had, people ask me about the field. I was like, well, if you replace the field, you have to take up the track, and the track isn't quite at its end of life yet. So I think a lot of that's tied together. And then also just the field conversation as a whole is very deep. You have a lot more stakeholders that need to, be part of that conversation. Artificial turf is not a shoe in, even if we had funding necessarily. So, people have strong opinions on both sides. There's things like PFAS that's also, on the horizon at the state level, and laws so there's just a lot of other pieces I think that would have to be discovered and thought about before we would even know what that phase 2, anything with the field would look like. And I don't know, Brian, realistically, I mean, I wouldn't say anything more than any sooner than 5 years. That seems, I don't know, that even seems like soon, but I don't know.
I would not want to put a time frame on phase 2 or phase 3. I would like to get through phase 1 of the school building project. And kind of focus on-
I hear you. I'm excited we're getting solar. I'm like, I feel like we need a ribbon. We need a ribbon cutting just for that. So Elizabeth, I think there's like, it's not very clear, what anything beyond phase 1 is.
Thank you for that. And then, I guess my other question is what happens from here as far as making sure that we're educating the public in a way that everybody is satisfied and has the answers.
So there have been new members to the design team that have joined. Christine Morgan, who is a booster, she's joined the task force, I guess. So as a parent, as someone who uses that, Nikki Carlin also has joined on occasion and provides feedback as well. So that's part of it, is just getting everyone access and to the same information that, we've all just been getting access in the past, month and a half, and being able to ask the questions. Huntress is actually going to price out the 750 seat option. And the reason why the task force thought that would be a good, for one, we don't want him spinning his wheels on a whole bunch of different scenarios that don't make sense. That one seemed to be more of a natural sense. It was comparative to, I think, Assabet. And then also, if you go anything 750 and under, you don't have to have that third egress through up the middle of the bleacher. So it would have some less structural pieces that might be a cost saving there, in addition to a fewer bathroom and a couple of hand sinks. So that also might be an option for folks to consider, just to see if that's impactful. I don't know if that would be $50,000 cheaper or $200,000 cheaper, but we'll have more information that can, I think, inform. I think really between now and August and September, it's really going to just be about outreach wherever possible.
So I guess we can kind of form up what it looks like as we go through it, and make kind of some kind of schedule. I don't know if we need to make any kind of, like when we're thinking about, here's some hearings we're having, like here's some Q&As we're having. I don't know if we're
I was thinking that, so Huntress, when we get to I think to that June meeting, whenever that is, I think that's gonna be another presentation probably. They're gonna have all the boards. Huntress can, you know, give a presentation, people can ask questions. We want to make sure that, you know, the FinCom select board and everyone's, you know, on board. I don't want anyone to feel that this is a surprise, right? That there's hidden information. Everyone should feel like they have access to the same information and comfortable with the decision process. So, and then I think similar, to your point, Beth, outreach, you know, I'm happy to go talk to seniors, happy to go talk to, you know, booster, whoever that might need to occur between now and that. I think a schedule probably does make sense. I'm not sure. I don't know, maybe we can talk. We just started talking about the timeline, changing the timeline now that we're looking towards the fall. So that might be something, Brian, we can have Phil think about some of those stakeholder opportunities. How do we approach that education arm?
Yeah, just because I mean, since we are, I mean, we are going to pay money for the delay, right? And so I just want to make sure that we leave that money,
Yes,
making sure that we're doing what we can do so that it's worth that money, you know?
the contract, yes. There was information, I can't remember if it was circulated to everyone. I guess the contract is about
About
50,000 each, I think it was. Is that right?
53.
Yeah.
It was 30,000 for fall years and 22,500.
Thank you, 50. And then, oh yeah, and then there's the 50,000 they were going, which is for the rental, but that was what Greg was like gonna be planning on for next year anyway. So, yeah, it comes with a cost, exactly. Delaying comes with a cost. So that is what it looks like for delaying. And
Mary, do you have any- No, not really. I just, you know, we just really need to take advantage of, there's a lot of questions and answers out there or that's on the website and that, and just keep adding, but it's not good enough to have it just on the website. We do need to do the same outreach as we did with the elementary school, finding different venues to get that word out to everybody. You know, that's it.
yeah, tomorrow.
I'm good with, you know, the way that we're going right now, but I do think that we do need to at least look into, you know, the whole phase 2 and what that possibly means. And, you know, if that means that we put out there that we're not gonna do it because the track is still okay, then we need to let people know that so that then maybe they'll, you know, I want to make sure that we're starting early enough so that, you know, when the track is potentially like end of life, we're working towards doing that, you know, in a timely manner rather than waiting until it's completely falling apart and then talking about it. So, you know, try to be active on doing that.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I know we had Brian Mike was doing that comparison for the bleacher rental. I guess if we needed to have ADA and then there was the platform. Did we get a final estimate of what that would look like?
I think he
Or
should, that right in front of me, but I think he sent that via email.
okay, is that somewhere that we're comfortable sharing in sub capacity in the project folder? I don't know. I maybe want to look at it again just to see, but I know the couple of things that you know, when I've been asked about it and recently because the question came up, you know, well, how much would rental? You just rent what you did last time. It's like, well, there's a lot of assumptions with that because the rental we would have to tear down the ones that are there. So you have to build in demo, you know, at some point because those can't stay the way they are long term. And then you're going to be renting a platform or something for WAVM because you're going to have a press box. And I don't think that's favorable from what I've heard from the athletic department anyway. So it's not just continuing what has happened. I think that's what people need to understand is that there's what was happened is was a short-term consideration. A long-term rental option is more costly. Because then you'd have to be looking at ADA compliant bleachers. And Mary, I don't know if we got your answer. You had asked a question about,
Point
yeah,
of-
well, if you was renting long-term, is that kind of skirting? That was a concern you had, right? I don't remember us getting an answer on that, but I don't remember who you asked, and I can't remember now.
That'll be one of the questions that we, just get out there. 'Cause some
Yeah,
people
maybe that's a question for Phil.
are, and you can't, at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can ask Phil, Brian at the next task force meeting is just, and he can ask Huntress, you know, is there some type of, compliance if we try to, tear down and just do long-term rentals to avoid, the expense that comes with code, for a permanent structure. I think that's what it is. We did ask, Elizabeth, and I can't remember if I put this in the email or not, but we did ask about your question on use, if the bleachers were done, could we use the bleachers, but if the bathroom wasn't done? And it seemed like there would have to be a variance for that in some capacity. It didn't seem like it was not off the table, but it would have to be more of, so if the bleachers were done and the bathroom was still underway, access to the bleachers would have to be, not under construction path, so that people, like for graduation, people could still maybe come and use the bleacher. We wouldn't have to keep them closed until the bathroom was ready. So the way Chris Huntress explained it is that would be something we would want to look into and have that conversation at the construction phase for that. But it would require a variance that would have to be approved by the building inspector. So Maynard's building inspector. So, but I thought it was a good question, and he didn't say no, so I was excited about that. I don't think it would be, I don't know how long a variance would be, so it probably wouldn't be like you have to wait, like a year or something. I don't know if that would be feasible, cost wise, if it's already under construction, but you might be able to occupy the bleachers if the bathrooms are not ready yet.
Is there anything else?
I don't have anything else, so I think we'll just keep sharing. And I don't know if anyone has any strong feelings about the fields. I know we haven't really dug deep, and I've probably wanted to avoid it because there's a lot more information there, but just at a very straw poll, is anyone feel that the fields need to be addressed now ahead of the bleachers? I don't think I've asked that explicitly, but
I mean, just what I've heard from some of my kids' experiences, the field is not great to play on.
No.
And this is, as soccer players, so,
Yeah.
then, from, football, I don't have any football players, so, but I don't feel like it is the right thing to do to put the bleacher project on hold indefinitely and replace it right now with the field. I think that would not, be losing out on money. Plus, everything's gonna go up in price. So, we can't, and we're not, it doesn't make sense to, stop what we're doing to add in the field. So I think we just need to keep going the way we're going and just let everybody know that our plan is to potentially replace the field, but that it's not happening just now. So.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, because I just wanted to make sure. I know we hadn't explicitly asked about it, and I wanted to just make sure no one felt like they were waiting for that burning opportunity to mention it. I did have one more update about the bathroom, because I asked at our last task force meeting about gender neutral, and what if you had single stalls? And it would, the way Chris Huntress explained it was that you'd have to have each single stall would have to have full independent plumbing fixtures, and they would each have to be ADA compliant. So the space wise, the footprint of each stall would have to be wider. And then it would require more hookups, sewer and stuff to that. So he said actually it would take up, you have to have a larger footprint. You need more space when you have single. So I just thought that was a interesting, answer. I hadn't thought of it that way. And I think that would be helpful when for the FAQs, Brian, to come up with a good answer about that. And the other part to that was, why does Littleton have, the single stall? And there are some towns who have structures that were built under the old code, for one, but also they had variances because some of their bleachers were within 300, was it 300 feet of a school, like another building that had bathrooms. So I think, like might be a school or whatever, and that's not the case for Maynard. Our high school is not within 300 feet, so we wouldn't be able to obtain a variance. And Chris did not think that we would get a variance under a new code anyway, which seemed very unlikely. So I just wanted to convey that as well, because I know that's the other question that keeps coming up in the community about comparing other towns. A lot of the Maynard is going to be building under new codes, and codes from 5 or 6 years ago were certainly different. And that's been very clearly explained to us. So, okay. All right. That's all I got.
So move on.
Sorry.
Okay, so Hillary and I met this past week and we've gone through all of A, all of C, and all of D. So all of that stuff is, I'm hoping by tomorrow will be in our next meeting folder. So all of those we're hoping to do like the consent agenda type of, that's the way that we're trying to work through this stuff. So it'll give you basically 2 weeks to go through those. I've also provided you with a spreadsheet that line items, what each one are. And then, if there were any changes, most of them, we don't have, there's very little changes, if any at all. There are a few that have a little more or, little added things. I've made notes in those on that spreadsheet for you. So that you know about that. And the plan is that we have 2 more, one next week and one the following week, and we're hoping that we'll get through the majority of all of them. I think we might need a couple of the sections. We're trying to do them all section by section, which is easier to do. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So I don't know if anybody has specific questions. Let's start with Natasha. Do you have any?
Well, first, I just want to thank you. I know that it's a big undertaking, and I appreciate you, and the work that you're doing to bring some sense into the mayhem. So, so thank you. I will certainly make sure that I do my homework leading up to that, so it's more efficient of a meeting. I did have one question about, I mentioned this to Brian this week, but I also for flag policy, I would really like to see, I don't know if that's part of how we can prioritize amending our flag policy based on recent judicial ruling. And the only reason why I'm asking, because there is happened in some towns, they've had some issues, and I want to kind of be in a better place. It actually was in the select board's meeting recently, because they were going to have an event in the spring, for the town, and they're receiving a request about certain flags, and they mentioned about amending their policy. So I just wanted to see if that's an opportunity we could look at our flag policy, and get that one squared away as well.
Mass does not have a flag policy, but actually Brian was asking me, and I did find a few districts that do have a flag policy.
Okay,
So we can look something up, I'm sure.
okay.
Steve, and I'll send you the link. I didn't even read it, but or Brian, maybe in that link that I had sent you, it might be town council may have had, like, just so Lisa Mead may have already opined like some legal sense of what some language that maybe we could nicely take and adopt if it's already been vetted by a lawyer in some way. I don't know, just a thought, just to get something current would be great, I think.
Great, Elizabeth?
How would you like us to let you know what questions you have?
Well, I don't know if we want to do it like we do with the minutes. Or that's unless you want to like break it down. There are a lot.
Yeah, because I don't want to, I say it out loud here.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So I just want to make sure that.
So, yeah, I think, maybe the best way to go about it is, to yeah, make your notes. And then,
Do it the way that we do with the minutes.
yes, okay, yeah, notes, okay, right.
If there are questions.
Yes.
Because, would you like to set a date to have questions to be by so that it's probably right?
Do it like that, yeah,
It's not taking hours.
right, yeah. That would work.
So you let us know, and that is.
So you already did so many overwhelming things.
Right.
Well, I don't know, if like the Tuesday before. Because that might actually work.
2 days before?
Well, we have a policy subcommittee meeting that Tuesday before our next meeting.
Okay, so Monday.
So Monday, so Monday, right, yes. Right, okay. Not my, that way we can maybe just, review the few. At least you. And that way, yeah, we can have, any questions, answered. Like that.
Same? No, okay. Thank you very much for doing that legwork.
Okay, chairs report. And since obviously I don't have a chairs report, but Natasha, did you have one before?
No, I'm good. I'm seeing if we can get out of here like sooner than later, so I'm good. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thanks for your work that you've done since our last meeting.
Elizabeth,
No, nothing to report.
okay, Mary?
No, that's what you're for.
Okay. The only, I have two things. One, the Spain trip was absolutely fantastic. They had the best time. The pictures were, some of them were absolutely amazing that the kids took. They were like, photography type of like gorgeous pictures. Did so much stuff. I'm really hoping that we get some come in, like talk about it. That would be so much fun. So there was that, and then I noticed Masks sent out their an email earlier today that mentioned that they're doing the day on the hill in May. And I wasn't sure if anybody was interested in going. I know Mary and I went like 4 or 5 years ago. So do you want to say? Go and it's Mass puts on like a presentation to talk about like what they're doing and looking ahead and stuff like that.
Issues that there are.
Right.
Coming down the pipe and that.
And then go, then you go and have lunch, where
All of the different companies.
Right.
Children's party there.
yeah,
Doesn't make more sense.
you know, a bunch of different schools where their food services come and provide this humongous spread of all different foods that you can try.
You do some network at lunch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun.
It was fun.
So,
When is it?
I think it's the beginning of May. It's like, I think it's that, like, yeah, I had written it down and then of course it went stick. So.
I might be a solid maybe for that.
Okay.
Oh, I did have a budget update. I know Brian mentioned there's no bigger changes, but from the budget subcommittee, I know Mayor and I went to, before, I don't know if Mar, if you had anything else,
The Dan Hill, May 6th.
May 5th,
6th, May
6th.
6th.
May
Yeah.
6th.
Okay,
Thank you.
go ahead, Natasha.
Okay, so Brian, yeah, it was good-ish news that they had our town budget subcommittee meeting the other day, and our number is not moving anything. Greg did pull back, I felt like the curtain a little bit and shared that he tends to over conservatively budget the benefits. He has been for beyond what was recommended, but understandably, because benefits are very volatile in their cost. But he's going to be less conservative. And I guess what that means is we would get less in free cash that would come back every year, because that's what happens if you budget a certain amount and we don't spend it, then it ends up going into free cash. So he explained he's going to follow more to the letter of what the consultant recommends, but that means it's less of a cushion and we'll get less free cash to work with as a result. So I don't know if that's a long-term strategy, but that is a recommendation for FY25 strategy to close the gap there for the 150-ish that was still in the red. And then Jeff had presented, I don't know if it went to everybody, can't tell. Jeff created a presentation about comparable towns, and Mary and I hadn't had a chance to look at it until it was being presented to us. So it was kind of like trying to read the screen, and I was like, hold on, go back, and it was just a little hairy. But I think we had some questions about the comparable towns. Of course, there was a separate couple of slides dedicated to education that were a focus. And I just thought it was very interesting that the education people were not part of the conversation in crafting that. So anyway, I think what it would lead to is there questions about certain types of cost and whatever. One of the comparable towns was Holyoke, I think is what he found. It wasn't one that I think we would recommend. When I go look at it, they have about the same population, but they only have 2 buildings. So they have fewer administrators. They have a K through, I think it was K through 5, and then a 6 through 12, middle school, high school. So anyway, a lot of it was kind of like Mary mentioned, we're not really having apples to apples here. Some of it's, apples to oranges. So I don't know. I get the intent was really great, and it's how do we judge? But there's a lot of data, I think, on DESE that we can show as far as the trends. when it comes to education, and Desi has its own comparable town. So anyway, I don't know, do you all get it or the presentation? Mary, I know you did, but
I don't know.
No,
okay,
Yeah.
all right, I'll forward it over. I can never tell when Greg blind copies everybody, so I'll forward it over then from this week, and then everyone can have a look over. And it was already in prior years, we came together and we would talk about the towns, right, Mary? And we like talked about it, and then he came back and presented it. So it was a very collaborative process. This was, we got it after it was done and after it was already circulated all around town. And it was like, oh, here you guys, here's your presentation and your school, about your school stuff. So anyway, it just felt a little backwards, I would say. But I get the intent was to just, bring awareness to how Maynard is measuring up. I just think that it could have been more of a collaborative effort. I would have liked to see, maybe an opportunity missed. So, and then I think we can just answer the questions that we got about why are we different for certain things, and we just look at the data and then, present it that way. Again, some of it's about Maynard has 3 dedicated schools regardless of our population, and we have to staff them regardless of the enrollment in it. So that's a choice that Maynard has made. And so if you compare us to another town, the same population, they have 2 buildings, well, it's not quite the same. Mary, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well said, yeah.
Okay. All right, that was it.
Let's move on to the consent agenda. I'm not entirely sure how to do this part, so I guess
Without objection.
without objection, like to approval of minutes for 12/21/23. I think that there were just some minor typos. So and then again, the warrants without objection for 24/046, 047, 048, 049, 050, and 051. Those are approved. Okay. Now we're going to move to go into executive. We don't.
Let's give it.
Oh,
We're meeting Monday.
okay.
So,
Okay. All right.
to the question.
Okay. Then I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Natasha,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. We're done
Great.
at 8. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mauro.